Coming up on today's show, Wendy Newman has spent over 20 years in relationships, has taught 90,000 plus people, and has identified as ethically non-monogamous since 2013. She is the author of 121 First Dates, How to Succeed at Online Dating, Fall in Love, and Live Happily Ever After, really. In this book that is based on years of research and 121 real-life first dates, relationship expert Wendy Newman dishes up practical wisdom for navigating the online dating trenches with grace, efficiency, and a strong dose of humor. Welcome to Loving Without Boundaries, where we hear inspiring stories, share actionable advice, and talk about the challenges and the joys of ethical non-monogamy and polyamory. I'm your host, Kitty Chambliss. Coming up, my conversation with Wendy Newman. Welcome back to Loving Without Boundaries, where I am really thrilled to be having a conversation here with Wendy Newman that I was introduced to from a mutual friend of mine named Linda Kastner, and she has a book that I'm sure will come up in our conversation called 121 First Dates, How to Succeed at Online Dating, Fall in Love, and Live Happily Ever After. Really? Okay. So I'm excited to be here with you, Wendy, and I'd love it if you, so thanks for being here and taking time out of your schedule. And I'd love it if you share with our listeners a little bit more about who you are and where you come from to give them some context.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Kitty, for having me on. I really am excited to be here and share all my thoughts with y'all. So,
Wonderful.
Hi, everybody. So it really all started like it does for a subset of women in the world. I'm a type of woman, and you've met her a million times, right? I learned very, very young that men are completely unsafe and you can't trust them for shit.
Mm-hmm.
And that if you ever really needed anything, you'd go to a woman to get it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a woman's woman. I love working with women, collaborating with women. In my younger years, I used to run a nonprofit hotel for disenfranchised women. My clients were women. I'm all about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I met my husband when I was 21 years old.
Oh,
And I
wow.
was so excited to meet him because he was so wonderful. He was hot. He had a great record collection. He took me out to dinner no one ever paid before.
Mm-hmm.
But my favorite thing about him, besides the fact that he was funny, irreverent, and cute, was he let me be the boss. He let me control him and dominate him and run the show. And 21-year-old woman Wendy thought she won the lottery.
Mm-hmm.
No woman ever turned his head. That
Wow.
should have been a red flag that no woman ever turned his head. But at the time, at 21, it seemed pretty great. I thought I won. But by the time I was 35, I was exhausted because in this partnership, I was doing both sides. I was doing both parts of partnership. And I had this partner who was over my shoulder, questioning and poking at every decision that I was accountable for making.
Mm.
And I had to leave him because I was tired.
Mm-hmm.
And we were also in a sexless marriage. And at the time I was 35 and I wasn't 95. I wasn't willing to give that up.
Mm-hmm.
And part of why it was that way was because I became his mother. I became the woman who handled everything. And he was unsexy to me and I was unsexy to him.
Mm-hmm.
So the real turning point in my life happened at 35. And my bestie came to me as I was divorcing and said, "Hey, you have blind spot. Can I tell you about your blind spot?" I was like, "Yeah." She said, "You hate men." "What? I don't hate men. I love men. Men are hot. What?"
Mm-hmm.
Look at your life. You have systematically designed a world without any masculine energy in it at all.
Mm.
So you can either go heal that relationship you have with men, or you're just going to pick another one and do the same thing you just did to this one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that was in 2002. So as a newly divorcing person, I took her hand.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, "By the way, I'm failing too. I'm 36 and never married and wanna be, so let's go do this thing together."
Oh, wow.
We
Mhm.
walked into a 2-day workshop holding hands, swinging our hands, and walked in and sat our butts down in the chair. And in 2 days, I learned so much about men that I didn't know, and I actually got the other half of the world available to me.
Wow.
And it was a little company, and they were just getting started. They were tiny and rough, and they're like, "We like you. You two look like you have your shit together. Come work for us." And at the time, I owned a company, um, and I said, "I can happily lead weekend workshops for you, but I can't come on full time."
Mhm.
And I ended up coming on full time.
Oh, wow. Mhm.
And so for many, many, many years, I led workshops to help women understand men and partnership. Now, this was all the way back in 2002, and my personal community is mostly made up of queer folk. So
Mhm.
it was problematic from the start, but I needed that piece to heal my own heart with the damage that had been done to me as a child and as a teen. And
Wow.
as I started to move and groove and lead workshops and helping women partner well and heal their own sexuality, I stepped away. Well, one, the pandemic killed it. I could no longer gather 250 women in a hotel ballroom, but
Mhm.
also I stepped away from the dynamic of the man-woman conversation given where we are today, right?
Mhm.
The kids are making it happen. Good job out there.
Yes. Yeah, that's
So
great.
So that was really my turning point, and the thing that's important to know is my old job doesn't make a lot of sense when I say I was a relationship expert because I started as a newly divorced person who didn't like men, but I was using someone else's information that she gladly granted me,
Mhm.
and then I created my own based on everything I was learning from the 90,000 women I've led to and the thousands of men I've talked to, and part of my job was leading a workshop, and the other part of my job was interviewing men. So I have heard women's complaints and concerns and questions,
Mhm.
massive amounts over the years of the 20 plus years. And then I have asked men every question I could think of that women would want to know the answer to
Mhm.
and have created conditions safe enough for them to answer. And it's been delightful. So that's where I got my start. And in the meantime, as in my personal life, I'm dating. Like, I'm brand new single and dating, and I thought, I'm a man expert now. I'll be like
Mhm.
married up in no time at all, 4 dates.
Mhm. Mhm.
Well, here's the problem. When you become a relationship expert and your full-time day job is navel gazing at yourself and listening to men and listening to women and listening to relationships and working backwards, like reverse engineering what went wrong in marriage after marriage after marriage after
Mhm.
marriage,
Mhm.
you get a little weird. You know, when you're in your career a really long time, you get a little weird.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like
I hear you.
trigonometry, right? You don't
Yeah.
wanna do basic math anymore. And what I came to the conclusion of after 20 years of being in this space, well, in the first 10 really,
Mhm.
is that I wanted a laundry list in a partner that was 4 pages long, 12-point font, right?
Mhm.
Really impossible, like, really impossible to get, which is why it took me a decade and 121 first dates. And I
Mhm.
so wanted freedom and partnership. I
Mhm.
wanted the cozy security of devotion,
Yeah.
and I wanted risk and to be free. So, hello, polyamory.
I was just thinking that. Yeah, I figured that's where you were going. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And it's
Wow.
actually something I didn't want. When I met my partner, Dave, he was just coming out of a 24-year monogamous marriage, and he said, "I'm polyamorous." And I said, "How the hell do you know? You've been married for 24 years." I said,
Mhm.
"How about this? I don't want monogamy either, but why don't we just do it my way?" And because I think I have a good way, and my way is the don't ask, don't tell policy. And he said,
Ah.
"Oh, God, no." I said, "Well, why not? I mean, I'm used to hookup culture, right?" Like, "Why
Yeah.
not?"
Mhm.
And he's like, "'Cause they're people, and people are not disposable." And I went,
Mhm.
"Oh, I'm the asshole. Okay, got it, check." So we made an agreement that we would just road test it like a science experiment for 3 months and see how it goes and
Mhm.
check in, and turns out it went. Yeah.
And how long ago was that?
Uh, 12, 13 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's amazing. That's really cool. Well, I have a plethora of questions, but before I dive into that, is there anything else you wanted to add to that?
Nope, that was my long-winded introduction to how I got to be where I am today. Thank you for listening.
Yes. No, it was fascinating, and I I never hear the same exact story twice, so I always think it's fascinating, and part of this whole point of this podcast is to just share stories to help normalize the conversation of how folks find their version of happy or healthy relationships, even if it's coloring outside the lines of heteronormative monogamy. So I appreciate you taking the time to share all of that, and I honor you and your courage for sharing that with some of the damage that you mentioned happened to you as a child, which sounds like some trauma that may have created some of those trust issues. And I honor you for going on that journey and listening to your bestie. That's amazing. So I have lots of questions. So I guess my first question might be, how did you first come to learn the term polyamory? Like, where did that come in?
Well, I had heard about it for a while. I mean, I have always been in the spaces of um, sex positivity, and I live in the Bay Area, so I knew who Dossie Easton was
Mhm.
and had had the pleasure of speaking with her.
Nice.
It always seemed like something that it wasn't a club that I was invited to. Early on, I didn't have, like, rainbow dreadlocks and, like, super cute.
Mhm. Mhm.
I didn't wanna go to Munch's, and
Yeah.
what it was presented to me as originally didn't feel like the right fit because of my age. I'm in my 50s, and it
Mhm.
just didn't. I always felt a little too old for that, and I didn't really think of it as a way to structure your life, but I thought about it more as a community in the very beginning.
Mhm.
So, it wasn't a community that I was a part of. I was a friendly visitor,
Mhm.
but I
Mhm.
was not a member of that community, so to speak.
Mhm.
And, yeah, it wasn't something that I wanted before I met Dave, because I wanted devotion and partnership, and I wasn't sure that was gonna be possible to have it to its fullest degree,
Mhm.
side polyamory, and boy, was I wrong. Mhm.
And I love you just owning it and just being super relatable, so I
Oh,
appreciate that.
super wrong. No.
Yeah, and I know, in your bio, you share there that you've been some form of ethically non-monogamous since 2013, so I'd love to kinda weave in what I call the light bulb question in whatever way feels good to you to answer it, which is, and it could totally be in adulthood or younger, and it could be multiple moments, but, was there a moment or several different points in your life where you realized that, say, traditional heteronormative monogamy and just kind of following that traditional path wasn't you, or maybe you were just gonna be a little bit left of center, coloring outside the lines of all of that?
Yeah, well, I never meant to be, but I always have been. I was born and raised in Salt Lake City, Utah, and there's a pretty strong counterculture there. As a young '80s teen, I was a young punk rocker who moved out when she was 15 years old, so I
Wow.
was always a bit of a rebel, and I didn't mean to be, but I was always a little bit on the path that other people weren't taking.
Mhm.
Which just made it more comfortable as an adult to be willing to be myself
Mhm.
and stand in the face of, "Y'all can do it over there that way, but, that's not gonna work for me."
Mhm. Yeah.
And so, my youth helped, but yeah, I just was always willing to look and see if it worked for me. I mean, the question I ask myself and the question I've always asked every client I've ever had is, "What do you need?" It doesn't
Mhm.
matter what the form looks like, it doesn't matter if I'm working with you one-on-one. I don't care about the other side, I care about you. What do you want? What do you need?
Mhm.
Right? That's gonna make
Yeah.
you happy. And so I'm willing to look at my life from there and push out into what works for my life instead of what culture expects from me. Because
Mhm.
culture's pretty dumb in a lot of ways.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, you really strike me as a trailblazer. Like, you present pretty,
I pass, don't
yeah,
I?
you pass as pretty, like, quote, unquote, normal looking,
As
but, yeah, I mean,
as
just
as my bestie calls me,
yeah,
PTA mom.
that's funny, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but you sound like you are a badass being a punk rocker, and it sounds like we're similarly in age. I'm in my mid-50s and also lived my teens in the '80s and I
Right,
don't know
right.
that I would say I was punk rock, but I admired people that were, but yeah, it's incredible that you moved out at 15. That took a lot of guts, it sounds like, so it makes sense that you were a trailblazer throughout your life as you move forward. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So, when since you list that you have been ethically non-monogamous in 2013, where is that in your timeline? Like, what was going on in that year that caused you to say that that's when you started your ethically non-monogamous journey? I'm curious.
Oh, yeah, that's when I met my husband. Yep.
Okay.
In February of 13, and we tried our grand experiment right out the
Mhm,
gate, and it worked fine. But even before then, I have a very different relationship to love and letting go. A lot of people try and kill the love of the last relationship to make space for the new one that's coming.
mhm,
It's
mhm.
like, "Oh, they must be a jerk or an asshole or
Yeah.
wrong to me or whatever," but I could see in my marriage that, I created that dynamic and so did he, but nobody did anything wrong. It just
Mhm.
played out the way it did. So, strangely enough, 35 years later, I'm still in relationship with him. It's not a
Oh,
sexual
wow.
one, it's
Mhm.
a family relationship, but I see him a minimum of once a week, and
Oh, wow.
he is in. He is one
Mhm,
of my partners that happens to not be a sexual partner.
mhm,
So, I don't let go of people that I love just because the form changes,
mhm,
and that makes me a little bit of a weirdo.
mhm.
And what was also super fun was leading workshops to monogamous women who were either trying to find their husband or keep the one they had, but I'm living this life of I don't care what you do. You could have 5, you could have none. You can have what's gonna make
Mhm,
you happy, right?
mhm.
And so my job got a little bit challenging at the end because my world was monogamous women, but I was not one.
I see. That's interesting. Yeah.
But the information I have is still relationship information, and it's top-notch relationship information because if you're gonna be poly or ethically monogamous, you're gonna need to know how to do relationships really well.
Mhm. 100%. I see that all the time in my own work, and that's why I
Yeah.
love talking to people like you so we can just keep expanding the conversation and giving people more and more tools and things to think about. And, I really appreciate that you're still in relation, even if it's more friendly with your ex, partly because I ended one of my polyamorous relationships with a nesting partner. I live with my husband, and my other partner lived with us for almost 10 years, and we got to a point after 9.5 years that it just wasn't working anymore, and I went through, the conscious uncoupling process very intentionally, because in my younger monogamous days, it would not necessarily always be like a big blow up really breakup, but it certainly we wouldn't be friends, you know? So I wanted to have more intentionality around it, so to me, it's very inspiring that you've been able to maintain a friendly relationship with your former partner. That's awesome. Yeah.
And I think it's one of the best things about this life that we have
Mhm.
is we get to change the forms and we don't have to move people out.
Mhm.
My
Absolutely.
I'm just gonna give you his name so I don't keep saying, "My husband," ugh, ugh.
Sure.
Uh, my partner, Dave,
Mhm.
has had a 3rd partner that has been in and out of his life as a partner
Mhm.
for about 13, 14 years,
Mhm.
right? 14 years that she's a lover and a partner, and then she's just a friend. And then she's a
Mhm.
lover and a partner, and then she moves back to friend. So,
Mhm.
if we're willing to just roll with people where they are, we don't have to let go if we don't want
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. I think
If it's
that's really
healthy and it
beautiful.
works for everybody, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. 100%. 100%. Very inspiring. And I love all the work that you were doing back when you were creating those workshops. If you were going to share even just a few nuggets, whether it's one or two or three insights from that period of your life when you think about healthy relationships that you might think might be helpful for our listeners, is there anything that shines through that you'd like to share?
Yeah. So, there is, 3 things that I believe that need to be present for any type of relationship to be good,
Mhm.
and that is that everybody needs to mean well. everybody needs high integrity, and you have to love each other. And the minute any of those three are out of whack, it just doesn't work, because when you end up with someone who doesn't have high integrity and doesn't mean well, you end up with manipulation and passive aggressive and gaslighting and all the things, right? But when everybody is very intentional, that doesn't have to happen. So once those three things are in place, what I decided next is you need to be able to check in. And I've noticed that there's really not a good time to talk about things, especially if they're hard. And that there's two camps usually. There's the people who are processing all the time. It's like, "Can we have a day off from processing our feelings, please?" Or there's the other swing severely to, "Let's just sweep everything under the rug and keep going." Um, and I designed something with Dave very, very, very early on. I don't even think we'd been dating a full month when I talked about it. I was sharing with him an experience I had in a workshop in LA. So I was down in LA leading 150 women in the room. I was teaching a 2-day workshop about sex and healing. It wasn't experiential. It was about shaking off the bullshit that happened to you in the past so you could be present today. And one of the pieces of it, I talk about infidelity and why it happens and how you can do things to help prevent it, right? And one of the things that we can do to help prevent infidelity is ask our partner a question. Now, I got to this part in the workshop, and in the 150 women in the room, there was one woman in her 80s, and she was there celebrating her 50th wedding anniversary.
Wow.
She was celebrating with us in the room. And I got to this piece and I said, you could ask your partner the question, is there anything that you need from me that you've given up on getting? Now, the answer could be absolutely devastating, right? But it could clear the decks for authentic new communication and new information. And I was teaching this piece and I looked at my 85-year-old sitting in the front row and tears were streaming down her face.
Wow.
And I could see her reconciling 50 years of never once asking the question, is there anything you need from me that you've given up on getting? And I was sharing this with Dave and I said, maybe in our relationship, if this goes somewhere, we should ask this question to each other. I mean, we're new, so giving up on getting doesn't work. So maybe we could have a different question, like a cousin question, which is there anything that you need from me that you're finding hard to get?
I
And
like
so
it.
I said, we could ask that like once a quarter. And he said, oh, no, not once a quarter. We should ask that twice a month, the full moon and the new moon. I said, no, that's too much communication. So he and I designed what I call my full moon ritual. And anyone can do it anytime. It's a monthly meeting. Have it on the first. I don't care. But we do it on the full moon just to mix it up. And we designed 14 questions together. We started with the first one. Is there anything that you need from me that you're hard to get? And then we created questions based on what I had seen in all the years of reverse engineering bad relationships.
Wow. Yeah.
So we could have this like really sweet, connected monthly meeting where we tune in with no one's in trouble. Whatever is said here, we all mean well, no one's in trouble. We can really say it how it is. And we go through, sometimes we only do 4. Sometimes we do 10, but we have 14 questions that we can hit to basically get the dust bunnies out from underneath the rug.
What a beautiful idea. Those questions, are they something that you'd be willing to share?
They're downloadable and they're on my site.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, I'll definitely make sure that we link to those in the show notes. That's awesome. Thanks for telling me about that. I've heard of something somewhat similar on the Multiamory podcast. They have a system that is meant to be a check-in. It can be monthly. It's called Radar, and at this very moment, I don't remember what that stands for, but I'm always interested in new tools and different ways of thinking about things, so I'm really excited to check out what those 14 questions are. That's really awesome. My husband and I are about to celebrate our 19th wedding anniversary next month. And
Yay!
yeah, so we're coming up on 20, and it's a journey, right? Relationships are a journey. So I love having different ways to keep it fresh. So I'm excited to check that out. So I'd love to switch over more into when you wrote your book, 121 First Dates. And I don't know what our mutual friend Linda told you about me, but what I'll share with you here that'll be interesting for our conversation is I'd love to hear more about your background. I joke around often that I'm one of the pioneers of online dating because I started online dating in 1996.
Whew.
And yeah, like it was AOL and dial up and all of that. And it was really like a personals online. It didn't even have photos. It was literally just like you were reading a newspaper, but it was happened to be online. And I ended up my second date. I ended up meeting a fella that I dated for 4 years. I moved from Philadelphia here to Northern Virginia, partly because of him and other reasons. And also, he ended up becoming the bass player in my band, even when we weren't in a relationship anymore. So my first relationship was quite successful. And I ended up online dating for 7.5 years before I met my now husband, who was online dating for 20 minutes. And I was
That
super excited that I got to finally meet my future husband. This was in 2003. Yet there was a part of me that just thought it was ironic and funny that I'd online dated for 7.5 years and was kind of perfecting. Like I had a form letter, I had a whole system down. And because I identify as polyamorous, and I recently got out of a long-term relationship, I'm back on dating apps again, which has just been funny. But I've also joked a lot that back then I thought I should have written a book about online dating, but it wasn't on my radar. I didn't know anything about writing books. But when my friend Linda told me about yours, I was like, good for her. That's awesome. So I'd love to hear more about what was like the germ of the idea to write the book, and just to tell me a little bit more about how that process started.
I didn't mean to write it. I've always been a writer, but I didn't mean to write that, and I would have never set out to date that much, and I really hated the term serial dater. I always dated for a purpose of partnership, so,
Mhm.
I mean, certainly if I saw somebody super hot and I wanted to tap that, I would, but mostly it was mostly for a relationship. So, what happened was, because I am a writer, when emotional things happen to me, I must write. I am
Mm,
compelled. And I was having all these dating experiences that were just wild, and a good friend of mine who'd been married for as long as I had before I divorced my husband, right? We all got married at the same time in our early 20s, was with her now husband of, 15, 20 years, and was saying,
mhm,
"Oh, your life is so exciting out there dating all the time. I see that you're going on dates, and Rick's so boring, and I don't know." And I had just gotten off this really horrendous date, and I did a little vignette. I did a little blog post about
mhm,
this absolutely hilariously bad date,
mhm.
and I sent it to my friend, and I said, "You think the grass is greener over here? Read this." To which
Uh-huh.
she went, "Oh my god, you have to write about your next date."
Ah.
I started it
Mm,
wasn't Substack, because Substack wasn't around back then, but somewhere back then, some library journal-y type thing, I
mhm,
started chronicling my dates, and at the end, I would really reflect, and where was I victorious? Where did I have a moment of human spirit?
mhm,
Where, when he was so inappropriate with me, I said, "Oh, hey, you know what? I'm not gonna stay for dinner because 'cause we're not a good fit. I'm gonna just let you have your Saturday night back and boogie back to my car as fast as I
mhm,
can and feel all that stuff and
mhm,
drive away and then be glad I had my life back," and right?
mhm,
But I started reflecting on where I was victorious and where I blew it, right? Or
mm,
where they
mhm.
blew it.
Yeah.
And I would put little hot tips at the end that would be usually pretty snarky and
Mm,
hilarious, and we would move on
mhm,
from there. And then all of a sudden, I had this collection, and my friend who originally had asked me to write about them, she said, "But, well, what happened to the last but it sounded so good. What
mhm,
happened?" So, I decided to start putting it together, and because my day job was literally teaching women how to understand men in partnership,
mhm,
it
mhm,
was a good fit for me to do little vignettes talk about the successes, talk about what I could have done better so you don't have to thwack your head on that branch as you're trunching along, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
We're on the hiking trail. I'm gonna show you where the pitfalls are.
Mhm.
And then also weave in some of the knowledge that I had learned about
Mhm.
partner well. So I did that, and that's how I ended up with 121 first dates. So it's 28 short stories. I did not put all 121 in there.
Oh, okay.
So
Mhm.
bored. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Those dates were so boring. You do not want that. So, yeah.
That's amazing, and I'm so glad that you did that 'cause I can't wait to really read it, and I'm excited about that as well, and that you took the time to share that and also to normalize that experience of online dating. Because certainly when I started in 1996, my friends were all worried about me, and they thought I was crazy, and, after I eventually met my now husband, then now a couple of my friends ended up meeting their husbands online, so it's certainly changed a lot since when I started, but I love that you taking the time to write that, and I, think it's great that you had kind of like a snarky tongue-in-cheek sense of humor about it. That's really awesome.
And I'm really glad it worked out for us. And also, like, there are people that it has not yet worked out
Mm.
yet. And it's super valid to keep going in a way that you need to get what you want,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and decide if that's not the avenue you wanna pursue. I mean, I my first career was in graphic design and advertising and marketing. So for me, it made sense because I was designing direct mail pieces, and it was all about, a numbers game. It's a numbers game to see how many people you can get out there and send the message out to. So it made sense to me mathematically and in my heart and my soul, but for other people, it might be super scary. Also, I was more of an extrovert, certainly back then, so I can imagine how scary it might be if somebody is more of an introvert. So, yeah, I appreciate you saying that, just respecting wherever anybody is at, or if you need a break, or if you just decide that's not your jam, that's okay.
Yeah. And for me, I looked at my life. I was a workshop leader of women. I worked from home. I am a little bit plus sized and did not meet people out in the real world.
Mhm.
Like, who
Mhm.
I met was the UPS driver and the guy at Whole Foods who was bagging. Like, that was my pool
Right.
of available men, and I would have never met Dave in a million years. Like, he was
Yeah.
a Silicon Valley tech person. I'm
Mm.
there. I mean, anything
Right.
south of San Francisco Airport is just all San Jose. I don't know what's down over there. So,
Yeah.
we would have never met.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, and I can definitely say the same thing in the sense that I worked in small art departments and small companies where there was maybe 12 people, and a lot of them were already married, and plus I was typically the boss, so to speak, so it was not really appropriate, of course, for me to be dating anybody that I worked with. So similar situation, and I just don't really think my now husband, his name's Eric, I don't think our paths would have crossed either. So
Yeah.
I think that's can be also inspiring for other people as well, that you're just kind of throwing out using technology to potentially throw a bigger net out there, and also to learn how to filter people a little bit before you even speak to them, you know,
Yep.
depending on which
Yep.
app you're using. Yeah.
Yep.
And certainly there's many more apps than when I was originally starting that path. Uh, so I, uh, so out of the 28 short stories, is there a particular like funny story or any impactful story that you might want to share just a little snippet of here?
Oh, let's see. What's a good story? Oh, there was just so many. Well, the one I wrote about, he said he was 48, and when I arrived, he was no younger than 70.
Wow. Wow.
He was dressed in a shirt that had words on it, but had so many grease stains, I couldn't read the words, and
Mhm.
his tan jacket had a big, red wine stain on
Wow. Yeah.
and I it was only drinks,
Mhm.
gonna be out of there real quick.
Mhm.
But when we met, he had hobbled across the road. He was, like, hobbling with a cane, and I said, "What happened?" Right? Like,
Mhm. Mhm.
icebreaker, "What happened?"
Yeah.
He said, "Can I tell you what happened?" And I said, "Yeah, tell me what happened. Tell me anything," right?
Uh,
He said, "Well, I was riding my motorcycle the other day, and I got in a motorcycle accident, and I broke my Johnson."
Oh
and it
my.
has swelled up with the blood, and it is erect right now. And the doctors, it's been like this for about a week. The doctors can put like a shot in there to bring the swelling down, but it might affect me permanently. So we're just trying to wait to see if the swelling goes down. But if you come home with me right now, I'll be such a fun time because I won't lose an erection.
Wow. That's something.
Yeah, that's that's something.
Yeah, and that's a story that is worth sharing.
And he stuck me with a check. He
That's incredible.
decided that it wasn't just drinks that I should also eat, so I just got a little soup
Yeah.
and then got a big meal and stuck me with a check.
Oh my. Hey, you
Yeah,
just left?
yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my goodness.
yeah.
Oh my goodness. But, real life makes some of the best stories, right? So that is a interesting and a funny story.
Another sad one was he wanted to go for a walk, and, I was such a knucklehead sometimes. I was just so, like, newly loving men and optimistic.
Yes.
I'd forgotten that they could sometimes be dicks. And he wanted to go for a little hike walk, which is never a good idea on a first date, honestly,
Mhm. Mhm.
doing it in the city. But, he had me meet him in this very remote part of Oakland. And, I mean, it was like warehouses and waterfront, but industrial waterfront, not bougie waterfront. And I am in West Oakland. Luckily, I took my dogs. We were gonna both go with our medium-sized dogs on this walk,
Mhm.
and I'm waiting and waiting and waiting. He was 35 minutes late. He pulled up in his, like, Datsun that was duct taped at the front, pulled up, looked at me, looked me up and down, and started driving away, and I said, "Excuse me?" And he said, "Oh, I cut my foot. I gotta go. I'll call you later," and then drove away, like, left me abandoned in a place and
Wow.
then, like, split because he
Mhm.
liked my body.
Yeah. Well, there's a quote I've revisited recently by Maya Angelou that when somebody tells you or shows you who they are, believe them the first time. So there you go. He showed you more about who he was in that 30 seconds, and there you
Yep,
go.
yep, yep.
Then you could make your own decisions. Not that you really had a choice, but yeah.
Well, I mean, the decision is don't be a knucklehead and go somewhere you don't wanna go. Don't put yourself. And I'd actually driven, like, 45 minutes to get there. Like, don't put
Oh,
yourself
yeah.
out that
Mhm.
hard. I got to be at the end, I got to be a really lazy dater. I had a cafe about 2 blocks from my house,
Yes.
and all the baristas knew I was dating at the cafe.
Yeah. That's interesting. Now, I'll share a vulnerable story that I had in my polyamorous dating, meaning I was already married. I had made a friend who I can't remember what state he lived in, but it was somewhere in like the middle of the country, and we became friends, online friends, and so was really enjoying that interaction. But we decided to meet, and so I ended up, to your point, driving. I think it was 3.5 hours, something like that, to meet this fella. And it just, as soon as I met him, there wasn't some epic story around it, but I could just tell that there was no chemistry. It just didn't feel right. It just felt weird. And then to your point, I was like, why in the world did I 3.5 hours to meet this person? That was kind of crazy. It was probably just better to keep it as an online friendship because this was probably never going to really work out. And he got, like, I was happy to just let that be and let that be on my side of the street that I went to those lengths, but he got super angry that I wasn't going to sleep over, at a hotel there that evening. And even though, of course, we had said ahead of time, we're going to just treat this, whatever happens, happens, and there's no expectations, right?
Yeah.
But then when I said, hey, look, I'm not going to sleep over, but I'm happy to enjoy your company and to enjoy dinner, he got super angry and got in his car and drove away with something in, like, something I had just bought in the car, and almost
Oh,
ran over
no.
my foot.
Oh,
And
no.
I know he didn't run over my foot, but he almost did because he was just being very careless. And I screamed, and he stopped, and at least just grabbed the thing that I had bought out of the car, and then he just like stormed off and skidded off. And I was like, Woo, boy.
Oh,
So I had a lot to think about for that 3.5 hour drive home. To your point, like, I'm not doing that again. That was silly.
yeah, and it's one of the things I talk about in my book. You made such a great point. Like, we get connected to people either on the phone or on video or on chat, and we think we know them, and we don't.
Yeah.
That w I am a huge advocate, especially at the very end. Sometimes I didn't even talk to people. I got enough from their profile to know I
Mhm.
can spend 45 minutes with this person. He's interesting enough.
Mhm.
And I just go because you don't know until you're face to face when you've
It's
got
true.
real live chemistry happening. You can't
Yeah.
get that on the phone. And
Mhm.
there was one guy I was gonna pass on. His profile was so good, and it was so different than anything I'd seen, and we were a
Mhm.
really good fit, but when we got on the phone, he sounded super gay, and,
Mm.
he had a really high, high voice, and I am a sucker for, I listen to Nick Cave,
Mhm. Yeah,
I'm a
knowing what
sucker for
you like. Yeah.
yeah, and I
Mhm.
just thought, I don't think I could live with that voice, but when I got but he was like, "No, you're not gonna not see me, you're gonna come see me." He's, like, a little bossy with me, I'm like, "Oh, okay, he's sassy."
Mhm.
So, he pushed through it, and I went, and face to face, he had the same voice,
Right.
but he had that masculine presence that
Mhm.
pulled me all the way in. So,
Mm.
you don't know, you could be turning people away that would have been a good fit for you, or you
Mhm.
could be building this magnificent epic relationship in for 3 months when you've never met face to face, and then you meet
Yeah.
and it's over.
Mhm. Yeah, and
Done
that I'm
in a
glad you brought
second.
that up because that was one of my biggest and hardest lessons was to not let it go too long, uh, just online, especially just over email or chat,
Yep.
because, yeah, you can just kinda blow it up in your mind and kind of create this fantasy, so I realized it's better just to get as face to face or as close to face as possible as early as you can within reason so that you can just find out, is there chemistry? Is there anything here at all? So that you can then get your time back. Because you can spend days, hours, weeks of your life really getting to know somebody online, but there might not be anything more there that, to pursue. And, our time is valuable. So, yeah.
Or even obsessing about the amazing possibility that's coming up next Friday when you're gonna finally meet each other
Mhm.
when you made that person way more amazing than they really are, you know?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
the opportunity of that person more amazing than it really was.
Mhm. Yeah. Reality is the most important thing.
Really
And
is.
trusting yourself by creating that moment where then you can make a real decision instead of one that's kinda has some fantasy wrapped around it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, really loving the conversation. And before we start to wrap up our call here, our interview, what are you excited about now? Like any projects that you want to share, or is there any words of wisdom you might want to leave our listeners in? Whatever feels good for you.
Yeah, what I'm working on right now is the Daily Ohm, is a little online magazine, and we've put 3 episodes together that'll be free, episodes that are in the can that are about relationship. The first one we started with is attraction style, and then we move into how to get what you need from a partner, and that's just
Hmm.
gonna be free content, via video like this.
Hmm.
And, yeah, I just wanna share what's happening for me now. Um we ended up I live in 2 cities, so I live in San Francisco, and I live up in the mountains in a little town called Grass Valley in California. And, when the pandemic hit and life changed for all of us, we were trying to figure out what we were doing. We were living in the city, and we were, in a one-bedroom apartment in the city, which
Hmm.
was great when we both traveled all the time and we weren't around, but then when we were locked in, we were like, "Oh my god, we're gonna kill each other."
Hmm.
So we started branching out, and we ended up in a mountain house on 4 acres. And it was kind of starting to bum out his other partner, Kim, because she's gonna be 3 hours away from the place we are most of the time.
Hmm.
And I said to her, I said, "Honey, come with us." She was like, "I'm solo poly. I'm never living with a man again." "Nope."
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
said, "4 acres. You could build an ADU, and you
Oh,
could
yeah.
live on your own." And she was like,
Hmm.
"Really?" And
Yeah.
so we bought this house. Uh, the 3 of us moved in. My partner works for Meta, and then Meta called everybody back to the office. So
Oh.
now he's mostly living in San Francisco and using our mountain home as the second home mountain getaway.
Hmm.
He's occasionally here. So my primary anchor partner is my metamor.
Oh, wow. Hmm. That's fascinating.
She and I are raising dogs together, and as it turns out, we have not yet built her ADU, and so
Really?
we live in the house together, and while neither one of us ever wanted that, we
Hmm.
did not want that, it has been the best thing that could have ever happened to either one of us, and it has worked out 100%. We have not had one incident, not one,
Wow. How
in
many
3
years?
years. 3.
Oh, that's amazing.
So, you just can't plan these things.
Hmm.
You just can't know until it happens, and even if it's something, that you think you don't want, like polyamory, it's worth giving a science experiment trial of about 3 months. 3 months is a good trial period for
Yeah.
most anything that's gonna be a long-term
Hmm.
important piece of your life, right?
Hmm.
And to see if you can work out kinks, and it turns out, like, I thought she'd end up in a fifth wheel on the land until her place was built, but once she got in the house, like, she likes to do the dishes. She cooks.
I
She's our
have to admit, I
florist.
actually like to do the dishes. So,
I'm telling you, if it was just the 2 of us, we would have sold this mountain house. I cannot maintain 4 acres.
yeah.
She does.
Wow. That's
So,
amazing. I'm so
and
happy
the
to hear that. What a great story of hope and inspiration. I
yeah,
love that.
and the things I like to do, she doesn't like to do. The things she does, I don't like to do. So it
Mhm.
has just been this really sweet fit, and when she finally gets her place built next year, I'm gonna be real bummed out.
You have to have coffee dates or,
I mean, she'll still be in the house, but,
yeah, that's
yeah,
awesome. Oh, that's so inspiring. I'm really happy for you. Yeah, and her. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, and the dog,
Beautiful. What was that?
and the dogs.
And the dogs. How many
We're
dogs?
raising dogs too. We have
Oh,
120 pounds worth of dog in this house,
mhm. That's
105 and
amazing.
15.
We have 8.5 pound of grumpy, loud, amazing, almost 18-year-old cat. And she's this little thing, and she has this booming voice. She has the best lungs I've ever heard of any cat.
Nice. Love a cat. Cats are next for us.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, it's been just an absolute delight getting to know you, Wendy, and I appreciate your vulnerability and your courage and the work that you've done with your book that is so awesome. And being somebody who kind of wrote the book that I kind of was thinking about writing, but I love that it's out there. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that. So where can people find you and your work and your book?
Yeah, you can find me at Wendy Newman Inc. Inc.com. And my book's everywhere. It's on Amazon. It's through Simon and Schuster, so you can get it anywhere.
Okay. And is there both a Kindle version and an Audible version?
There's not an Audible version. Oh, I've been trying to get the audio rights forever, but there's not one yet. You'll have
Okay, okay. Well, good to know, good to know. Okay, so awesome. Well, thank you so much. I look forward to maybe meeting in person someday via our mutual friend, but I'm really excited about all the work that you're doing and you coming on the show and sharing your story.
Thanks for having me, Kitty. And I'm so inspired by the work you do because once I got in this world and I realized that my whole audience was monogamous, I didn't have anywhere to go anymore. So I really appreciate you giving me a space to talk.
You got it. It's absolutely my pleasure.
Thanks for tuning in to today's show. If you like what you heard, are struggling with some aspect of your relationships, and you're interested in seeing if you're a fit to work with me as your relationship coach, here's what I invite you to do next. Head over to lovingwithoutboundaries.com/apply. That's lovingwithoutboundaries.com/apply. And book a call to speak with me. I'll get on the phone with you for about 45 minutes, and we'll get you crystal clear on 3 things. Number 1, exactly what's not working well in your relationships right now. Number 2, ideally where you'd like to be and what might be getting in the way. And number 3, the exact strategy to get you there, helping to close that gap. Remember, creating healthy, open relationships does not typically happen by itself. Many often need expert guidance to make it happen. We've helped clients all over the world to feel safe, happy, and secure in open relationships while not losing their mind or their cherished partners. To see if we can help you do the same, head over to lovingwithoutboundaries.com/apply. I'm Kitty Chambliss, and let's talk soon.